Namaste. Welcome to our May Satsang. I have some show and tell at the very beginning, commercial also. First of all, an appeal. We are publishing this book, Christian Non-Dualism, a Commentary on Theologia Germanica. Very, very important book from about the 16th century, or maybe even the 15th century. Written, interestingly enough, by a man who called himself the Teutonic Knight. And, well, it's quite amazing. It shows, again, that Christianity has esoteric roots. They're not that far back even in history that are very valuable and very necessary to understand that what calls itself Christianity today is just a monstrous fraud in most instances. Next, in the commercial part, is we've all gone through a manifestation of hell, basically, in the election. And truly, demons of hell seem to be sitting in most of the media chairs saying what they had to say. And this happens, of course, every election time, and everybody else is a devil, etc., etc., etc. And it means virtually nothing ultimately, in the sense that, as the French say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Oh, yeah, you are. But in contrast to this ungodly circus that we've had to see, I recommend this to you. Here, let's see. All right. This is an interview with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A remarkable interview. It's very lengthy. And I'll hold this up quite a while because you've got to copy this all down. But this is an interview with a person in whom Dharma comes first, not politics, not power, not influence. He is a Dharma Raj, a teacher of Dharma, and only secondarily a politician. And he's in politics because he wants to promote Dharma, a person of absolute integrity. Okay, well, I hope you've got that. A remarkable person. In fact, there's a window there to what's my right, and above it is a photograph of Prime Minister Modi, which is one of our most valued possessions because he is the great teacher. Actually, over the other window, we have Dr. Mohan Bhagwat, the head of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangha, the RSS, which is perhaps the greatest and most important spiritual organization in India at this time, which of course is hated by people who hate Dharma. So if you should look them up, you'll find plenty of fuss. All right. Before we get to the questions, someone had written and asked about an explanation of deities. Of course, it has to be understood that, see, Hinduism is not a monotheistic religion, it is a monistic religion. That there's only one absolute being, one absolute reality, and you and I are parts of that. We're not poor sinners. We shouldn't even think of ourselves as lost in samsara, though because of our ignorance, we make ourselves lost. But divinity is always the underlying insight, understanding of religion. Now, before I begin showing you pictures of various deities, which you understand do and don't exist, in the way, here am I, Swami Nirmalananda. One day I'm going to die, it'll all be gone. When I come back, I'll have another name. So the gods are, in a sense, like that also. They come in at creation cycles, they have certain functions, and then they go. These deities really are basically offices or positions within the creational movement of things. You see? In other words, people who evolve high enough in certain cycles, they may manifest as one of those deities. It'll be their job. And then at the end of the cycle, when it comes back again, someone else will take on that form and that function. This is important to notice, to know. Therefore, I again recommend this book, Hinduism, the Universal Religion. It's an incredible book. It's not shallow, it's not easy read. But it is as ideal and as close as human language can get to an exposition of Hinduism. And the thing that really matters in our subject is this. Chapter 14, Devi Jagat, says the occult world, think of it as being the deities world, because that's what they're talking about. And they're talking about our rebirth in many worlds also. So, that I think you will find valuable. All right, Ganesha, Adideva, the first of the gods. In fact, he's right there above the camera, where I see him every day. He is the remover of obstacles. Now, there's a lot of stories about him. He is the son of Shiva and Parvati and etc. How is it he has an elephant head? It's a symbol of wisdom. However, they have a story about it. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But he is real. And he is the deity of beginning and of success. Therefore, in many books in India about spiritual themes, you will find that at the title page at the top it will say Om Sri Ganeshaya Namah. It's a salutation to Ganapati. So there he is. The deities have many arms. They represent their various powers. The lotus, of course, represents divine wisdom, or the blossoming of the consciousness in the individual. At the same time, he has an axe, because we all have got to chop the heads off the negative tendencies that have accumulated from our previous lives. And basically, that's it. Okay, next. Brahma, the creator. Brahma is a highly evolved being. He was the highest evolved being in our relative world at the time that the world dissolved in the great Mahapralaya, the great dissolution, because creation comes and goes in cycles. So when this cycle began, this individual became Brahma. Whether we will say that these depictions are absolutely literal or figuratively, the answer is they're both. Brahma does look like that, but his figure is also symbolic. It shows him as if he has 3 faces. He actually has 5 faces. Why? Because in our creation, things work in 5s. We have 5 great elements, for example. And our bodies, you see, 5 fingers on each hand, 5 toes on each foot, 5 senses, and this is a reflection of the cosmos itself, and since he is sort of the highest reflection, there he is, and it only shows 3, but he really has 5 faces. The book in his hand are the 4 Vedas. The mala in his hand is sadhana. That's how he got to be Brahma. Japa, mantra, japa. The kamandalu in his hand, the little, that's interesting. Oh no, I have to reach back to touch it. You have to forgive me, everything's in a mirror. Okay. That represents what we call the Amrita, the essence of immortality that comes from real wisdom, divine wisdom, which is ultimately, of course, self-knowledge. Okay, next. Vishnu. Vishnu is a preserver. Brahma brings the universe forward. He manifests it, but Vishnu keeps it in existence. He stabilizes it. He, in a sense, impermanently permatizes it. And therefore, he has the powers of, let's see, can I get it? Sudarshan Chakra. This was a weapon. It was a steel disc about so big. It had a hole in the middle so you could put your finger in it and go like that and whirl around. And the outer edge was razor sharp. This was a weapon used in ancient times in India. So the warrior spun it and then went like that and went. And if he was good at what he was doing, it cut off the head of the enemy. So he cuts off all that is negative and all that would harm and hinder us in our sadhana. So it's an instrument of mercy, though the demonic, the lower powers of darkness, of course, won't find it very benevolent. The mace is down, the mace is both power and also it's a weapon too. And with this, frankly, people literally knock the heads of their enemies off. So there's that side. Then on the other side, we see the conch shell. This is a conch blows, makes a noise, and it represents divine shabda, the power of divine sound. The pranava for the world is the basic sound. So it's a symbol of Om, but it's also a symbol of Soham, because in the spirit world, the inward turned world of consciousness and liberated consciousness, Soham is the keynote. And then, of course, there is the lotus, which is wisdom and knowledge and evolution itself. He's blue because the sky is blue and it is the infinite expanse, and he is infinite, all-pervading, all-present. And that's the way we depict Vishnu, the preserver. Okay, next. Shiva. Shiva is a dissolver. He frees us from that. Vishnu, Brahma and Vishnu, they give all these wonderful things to us, and we get addicted to them. We shouldn't, but we do. And we get bound by them. And we can't think there's anything else but them. So wisdom's got to come along, which only results from spiritual awakening and knowledge, and that is symbolized by Shiva. He is that dissolver. I say this because I got so sick of it when I was a beginning yogi in California. I got so sick of when anybody mentioned Shiva, some fool that would not have even read 20 verses of the Gita and didn't really know Hindu Dharma would say, oh, Shiva the destroyer, like, oh, an evil being, woo. But of course that told me something too, because the demons fear Shiva, and so do human demons. And so they say, ooh, but it's not ooh. This is peace itself. His eyes are closed. He's meditating, contemplating. Why is there a snake around his neck? Because, and there should be, there's a scorpion. Oh, that's a scorpion. It means he accepts everyone. Those that are considered poisonous, those that are considered very harmful, that you'd see it and they say, well, get that thing out of here or shoot it, kill it, chop off its head. He doesn't do that to us. No matter how a person may be, even degraded, Shiva accepts him. So this is also, so he's not a destroyer, he's divine mercy. But he's divine mercy realized through meditation, through yoga sadhana. That's who he is. He's called Mahayogi, the great yogi. The truth is, he's the archetypal yogi. So, there's water coming out. That's the Ganges. It is said that the Ganges flows through the hair, the locks of Shiva, comes out, and then eventually emerges in the world. The Ganga is a divine being. It appears to be water, but it's not. It's consciousness. I didn't believe that, but when I saw it, I literally fell into it, because I saw divine consciousness is just sweeping by me in the form of water. And when you drink Ganges water, it's extremely purifying. And so it is said that when the Ganga was to come to earth, the idea was that it might just virtually destroy the earth. Materialists say because it would hit it so hard, it might break the planet apart. Really, the idea is, of course, that we, in our ignorant condition, may find that to us, even divine light, divine power can seem to us something that might kill us. In fact, evil people feel that way. They get nervous. They say, well, I don't like that. Well, oh no, don't show me. And they get antsy. Sri Ramakrishna talked about the fact that people would come to see him and they foolishly would drag their ignorant friends along because they thought, oh, they'd like to come meet this great spiritual man too. But they sit there and look like this. Finally, they say, I'll wait for you outside. Now, there were people, Ma Anandamayi, I've seen people come into her presence and shed tears of relief at the wonderful relief they felt in her presence. To be with Ma was to be conscious, but some people don't want to be conscious. So there were people who wouldn't go near her, and I knew one woman who said, oh, the moment I walked into the house where she was, I felt like somebody was suffocating me. And when I went in, I bowed down, but I had to leave fast because I could hardly breathe. There you are. So, Shiva, the Ganga, the purifying stream was to come down, and he said, let it land on my head. And so it comes through him and comes out. Is it just mythology? No, it is not. There is a point where the Ganges appears. This is very interesting. You don't have to believe it, that's all right. Far in the Himalayas, where only the yogis have been, there is a place where if you stand there, you see just like virtually a drop of water appear and another appear from nowhere, seemingly. And it goes down and it becomes a stream. And as it goes, interesting enough, it becomes larger and larger. But this is true. The Ganga is coming out of the ether into the earth plane, but is doing it, though he's invisible there, through Shiva. So people say Shiva Guru. Shiva represents the Guru. He's the great teacher of the world. And is therefore, of course, the deity of the yogis. The tiger skin represents the complete, in a sense, annihilation, destroying of negative, murderous power and ego. It's the ego. But he sits on it. Well, we possess our ego. But if we'll let Shiva, in the form of sadhana, sit there in our head, then the Ganga, the Amrit, the life-giving water, will manifest in us and also flow down from our head through our entire being. This is why there are saints who after death do not decay, because they've been made immortal even while alive. And even the instrument, because we're not our body, it's just our instrument, even the instrument has been immortalized through the holiness, not of the individual, but of God. Okay? Anything else I need to say?
The trident.
Oh, the Trishul, well, he spares demons with it. So, and that's what real enlightenment does too. Therefore, if you're very holy, the demons, invisible and visible, may run when they see you. I have experienced, I don't mean in relation to holy meat, but I have seen that happen also. I actually saw a man run and hide and then keep peeking around to see if the holy person had left yet. There you go. Okay, next.
Reposition myself.
Okay, that's right. He's being a yogi. This is Goddess Saraswati. She's a symbol of divine wisdom, but also of any kind of knowledge and wisdom, even of the earth, that ultimately benefits or ultimately, and of course the highest one, liberates. So there she sits, and there is Saraswati Puja once a year among Hindus, where even books are taken, and they're often made a big pile, like in schools. I've been there. And then maybe they put an image of Saraswati on top of that. And then they have the Saraswati Puja. So also, people who want to learn, meditate on her, or pray to her, that they'll be able to learn, that their minds will become capable of taking in the knowledge. So there she sits. She has the Veena, divine Shabda, again, mantra. She has the Japa Mala. Well, that's Japa. That's the sadhana. Then, other hand, you see that's scripture, holy scriptures. Holy scriptures used to be written down on palm leaves. Palm leaves aren't that big. So they just were, and they were cut, so they were in that kind of oblong configuration, as you can see there. So this is the power of wisdom enlightenment. Yes. Okay, next. Lakshmi. Lakshmi is a symbol of prosperity, good fortune. Now, we have the word luck. They say, oh, that person's lucky. You know where it comes from? It comes from British India. The British put their main center for a long time in Calcutta. Calcutta is Bengal. Of course, the people of Bengal speak Bengali. And Bengalis say lucky instead of Lakshmi. I remember I needed to take a bus, and someone said he should take the Mahalucky bus. I thought, what? Mahalucky? But anyway, it was, of course, Mahalakshmi. And so when in India, someone is very wealthy or very fortunate and benefits and wealth and other things come to them, they say, oh, he or she is Lakshmi. But you see, the Bengalis said in the hearing embrace, they are lucky. So, when we say good luck and so on, we are really showing even the Hindu roots of what is in the West culture. So there she is seated, many hands, from many powers. It often means just omniscient. You see, from her finger, she's materializing it, comes the coins. And so, but she's prosperity of mind, richness of mind also, as well. But she's real. And those who honor her find out she's real. All right, fine. That's one thing wonderful about our religion. You can try it out and find out for yourself that it's real. Okay. Durga. Yes. There's a whole scripture, wonderful scripture. I think I've written a commentary, but I don't think we printed it. It's called the Devi Mahatmyam, which means the glories of the goddess. And it's about the manifestation or revelation of the goddess Durga in very almost the primal ages of the world, before a lot of what we see as the world even manifested. And the whole cosmos is dual. So there has to be positive, there has to be negative. So there has to be movement forward, movement backward. Movement of expansion, movement forcing contraction. Therefore, there were forces opposing both the existence of the world, the existence of those in the world, and the purification of the individual to gain liberation. And so the demons, of course, these are symbols, opposed and were oppressing the world, because the individual. And then appeal was made by humans and other sentient beings. In those early days, material and immaterial beings mixed with each other on the earth plane, and the material ones could perceive the immaterial ones. So, these demons were working oppression, and therefore the various gods themselves prayed for the manifestation of the power that would conquer these. And so there's this great prayer. And have we posted the Chandi on our website?
I don't think so.
Well, maybe we should. It's called the Chandi. It's sometimes presented as a drama. And there's recitation of these mantras, the prayers that the gods made. And suddenly this divine form appeared. And it's wonderful to listen to. It's just because mantras are realities. My words to you, they're just symbols. But mantras are the thing. Gajendra, when it's said, a subtle hint of elephant is produced. And a person with real siddhi could, if they will, say Gajendra, and boom, there'd be the so-called elephant in the room. So she appeared, so the light streamed forth from the various gods and they into the center, and they coalesced, and this form appeared. You see many arms, many weapons, and that all represent the powers which both dispel evil and heal and compensate for the evil. See, there you have the lotus. That's prosperity. But you see, she burns with fire. She pierces with the arrow. She cuts with the dagger. She also strikes with the trident and with the sword and with the mace. There we are. She rides on the lion. She's called Sinhavahini, the rider on the lion. Glory to thee, the lion rider, the gods say in the Devi Mahatmya. And that is, again, the power of strength, but also courage. We say a lion-hearted person, King Richard, we say he was a lion-hearted. So, if you're going to really support this Shakti, this power, which is meant for enlightenment, you have to have courage. A weak person, a cowardly person, an unresolved person without will cannot manage in spiritual life at all whatsoever. That I can tell you. For example, in sadhana, people sit for meditation. Well, they want to meditate on God, and so they sit. And suddenly, something happens to them. A feeling of fear just rushes over them. Oh, they go. Maybe, by the way, I've known people this has happened to. I knew someone who meditated and suddenly a decaying face was in front of her. So she stopped meditating. A psychologist told her, it's because yoga's bad for the psyche. Read Carl Jung and find out how Eastern methods are not meant for Westerners. Blah, 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 blah. Well, she was disposed to the inner evil, so she quit being a yogi because after all, she didn't say, I'll sit here and if I'm scared to death, well then, I'll die and go to God because I was wanting to find and know God. Oh, no. So this also happens when you start sadhana. All kinds of bugaboos arise. And if you really want to quit, you'll say, oh, well, because of that. So, oh, yeah. So when I meditate, my blood pressure gets too low. And so on and so on. Anyway, I don't want to talk about unpeople like that any more than that, but that's what happens. So she scares the evil and she delights the good. And so is Kali Devi next?
I think so.
Okay, good. Let's go to that. Ah, wonderful. Dayamayi Ma, the embodiment of mercy, the mother who embodies mercy. That's who she is, you see. In the war of the demons, things got really hot and heavy, and there needed to be a real good fist against the evil forces. So suddenly, from the very body of Durga, this came out. So she's called Koshiki. She came from the kosha, the body of Durga. And there she was. You see her? You see, they're very, very intelligent. You know, are you getting, are your hands going to sleep holding this
Okay.
like that? Okay. There's two interesting things that happen in India if they take you seriously. First of all, they find out about your family and your ancestry. If you read a life of a saint, you find they start with their grandparents usually or their great-grandparents. For example, if you read a life of Yogiraj, Shankaracharya of Mahashaya, told about in autobiography of a yogi, they start with the great sage Shandilya, who wrote the Shandilya Yoga Sutras and the Shandilya Upanishad. So, they will very diplomatically, very cleverly ask you about your parents, your grandparents, and so on. Is there a spiritual strain there? Even though it's Christian and it's ignorant compared to Hinduism, but yet, was there an affinity for God? And if there is such a background, of course, I understood what they meant. So, heavenly days, I had a religious genealogy, so as an egotist, I just trotted it all off. And then they do another interesting thing. If they're Bengalis, because the Bengalis especially love Kali, they take you to a Kali temple. If she scares you, you're a bad person. If you look at her and you may think, my gosh, but somehow she's all right. She is Dayamayi Ma. But if you can't get past that appearance, you'll never know it. There she is. You see, she slays demons. She didn't slay human beings. She came out. She went across the battlefield with that sword. She chopped their heads off. She grabbed their heads sometime. She let the blood run out. She drank it. But you see, usually there should be on that sword, an eye. It's the eye, it's really the sword of consciousness, of prajna, spiritual consciousness, you see. And then, on that side, see on this side, that's, now there, that may look ferocious, but that's really the power of healing. And see that? It means come near, don't be. In fact, often in images, one hand, her upper hand's going like this, and the lower hand like this. I can't get it. And this means don't be afraid. And the other one, there, means come near. Because she's our mother, you see. Your mother washed you and bathed you when you were a baby, and you screamed, you squalled, you didn't like it or not. You didn't like it all, but she loved you, so she cleaned you up. So, Ma, the great mother, sometimes she gives you a good scrub. If you're really her child, you grin and bear it. And if you're not, you say, go away, leave me alone. And she'll go away and leave you alone. She springs from Shiva, you see. Shiva is merciful. He's a great yogi, but you can't be a yogi without empowerment. And she is the power that comes up and rises from this. And you and I need this power in us to vanquish all inner negativity that we have. But you've got to get through it, you see? You've got to get to the other side. It's a journey. And part of the journey is being able to say, all right, Ma, cut her off. See, now, she has a skirt of arms. I do. It represents aham, I am. I do it. It represents ego. And she's cut off the heads of the demons, but she's also cut off the arms, symbolically speaking, of her devotees and freed them from the sense of I do, so they know that God is the source and the doer of all things. It's wonderful, isn't it? Yes, yes. But it's a good Rorschach blot test for whether, because I've seen it. I one time said, isn't this wonderful? I had a more ferocious one than this. It was fantastic. She was actually holding out the bowl of blood to the viewer. And so this supposedly spiritual yogi just went, oh, and turned and refused to look. Then I knew, I pretty well figured out, anyway, this is not a good person. Okay, fine. Sorry. Well, avatars, God comes into manifestation. Sankhya's say when a person is absolutely liberated, they've transcended all the worlds, and their divine self is absolutely manifest, that out of mercy they may descend into the world, be born, and teach people. That's one view of avatar. The other is, no, the absolute just takes on a form. Why argue? Just as long as they come, and just as long as we're able to learn. For there are great teachers in the world and great empowerers, and they too remain in the subtle worlds and can be accessed by us. And this is Krishna, of course, who most everyone knows. This is how he was in Vrindavan, which he left when he was only 12 years old. Went into Mathura, which is, I don't know, about an hour from Vrindavan, and killed the evil tyrant Kamsa, who happened to be his uncle. So, you see, if you don't like violence, forget sadhana, because sadhana is working mayhem on your own ego and your own evil. But anyway, there it looks very nice, and he looks nice and harmless. And so there is Krishna. Again, the flute, divine sound, shabda, mantra, over and over and over, in all the symbolism and in all the teachings, mantra, mantra, mantra. Mantra comes from the words manatrayate, which means a thought that transforms or carries you over. See? So a mantra is something that changes your consciousness when invoked. Not just once or so, but a lot. In meditation and in daily life, japa, repetition of the mantra, whether moving around, walking, working, or whether sitting and with eyes closed in meditation, this is the way of transformation. Now, Krishna is considered bhakti and love. That's right. You've got to really love enlightenment, and if you won't go through everything, including Kali Ma, you don't really love. You don't really want, because love is a positive force that draws two things into unity. It's not like, oh, Jesus, I just love you so, or, oh, Lord Krishna, you're so wonderful, oh, your restless eyebrows. Those people are damn fools. They may call themselves bhaktas, but they're not. Because you're not a devotee of God if you're not a yogi sadhaka. That's the real truth. Okay, having said that negativity, let's go on. Rama, he was the king of Ayodhya, north central India. And at that time, India was being attacked continually by really evil people who were actually black magicians from Lanka, which today is called Sri Lanka, who was ruled by an evil man named Ravana, a demon incarnate virtually. And so Rama conquered him, killed him, because that's what we have to do. Kill it out. Take out the roots of evil from us. And therefore, this is him crowned as the king in Ayodhya. There's a great Rama temple has just been established in Ayodhya. That's become, they actually are thinking that there'll be this year 5 million people will be going there. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to see. And so it is. Modi, Prime Minister Modi, was a great mover in this temple being made. And in a speech he said, now Ram Raja begins, the rule of Rama. Because you see, Rama was born there, and his birthplace was a holy shrine for countless centuries. And then, when the Mughals and others came in, the Muslims came into Bharat, into India, and killed as many people as they could for sport, and destroyed everything, and they destroyed the great temple of Rama that was there, and they built a mosque. And then said, well, we're here now. And I'm sorry to say that even though their reign ended, of course, the oppressors came, the British came, and the French came, Portuguese came to India. It was like, yeah, what can we grab from this country? This was the way Europe benefited India. So, there they were with their false mosque where Rama had been born, where he had been worshipped for incalculable years. And then there they were. What to do? Well, of course, the British hated the Hindus, so anyone that was a Hindu was a friend of the British. So they loved Christians and they loved Muslims. And they were always on their side, and they always, favored them. But they got rid of them. But it takes about 75 years or so for an oppressed people to suddenly realize they're not oppressed anymore. Because oppression paralyzes you. Even if you don't like it and you yearn for freedom, it paralyzes your will. For example, it took 75 years or more after the Civil War for the descendants of the slaves in the South to realize, hey, we're not slaves anymore. You're going to treat us like slaves. No, you're not going to say, you can't go in there, we don't like your color of your skin. And so we had the civil rights movement. God sent us Dr. Martin Luther King. And that terrible evil was wiped out. But it took that long. And I've seen there's kind of this, it takes time. So anyway, the people realized nonsense, and there was a day where the Hindus went and they got on the top of the temple, and they just broke the thing, and they broke the domes, and they knocked it down. The members of our monastery were watching, and believe me, we cheered it on. Then, of course, Time magazine had to come out with an article about, oh, this terrible bigotry and vandalism, you know. And then Time magazine gave a list of which meant you were a Hindu fundamentalist fanatic. And we conformed to every one of those points, I'm glad to tell you. So, anyway, it still took a long time because I had to go through courts and all kinds of skullduggery went on. But now the great temple is there, and Ram sits in his durbar, in his court, and people can go there. And the evil people cry into their beer, and that's fine, because deadly, destructive, mind-killing force is all they have left. And I'm glad to say so. Awful. Okay, quick.
That's it.
That's it? Oh, fine. We're done. Oh my goodness, how long have we been? All right, fine. Took a long time, but I don't care. See, the Republicans we used to being pushed under them. I remember one time when things were sort of moving more for them, that they attained a lot of legal victories. And can you believe it? Then they said, oh, but we mustn't gloat. Well, that was their bad luck. We who are Hindus, we gloat. All right, there we are. Now ready for questions. Yes, all right. So then, it's not a large number today, so let's go. Can you discern any significant difference between Theosophy and the Rosacrucian Fellowship? I would consider yes. Sorry, let me go on with this. I've tried to read this secret doctrine several times over the last 13 years, but it's just too dull and thick and heavy for me. Excuse me, I'm not laughing because I think you're being silly or stupid. I really get it. The secret doctrine is a marvel. It's a miracle. It's a wonder. Blavatsky was one of the most incredible people that the West has ever seen. And because she was a rather forcible personality and did have some ways that people call eccentric. Excuse me, I need to straighten up. Okay, so anyway, Blavatsky isn't considered, very, very liked. And the secret doctrine, the truth is, it's brilliant, it's wonderful, it's valuable. But if it isn't for you, then it isn't. And that doesn't mean that you're not intelligent and so on. I'm not saying this a condescending way. It's meaning it just doesn't mean anything to you. And if it doesn't, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of profound wisdom. There's a lot of good things. She, of course, wanted to include everything in the subject, so she did. But anyway, I understand it. You don't need to read it. And again, of course, the Rosicrucian cosmic conception, which I recommended, is much, much easier to understand. But as I said in our last satsang, when the second edition of the Rosicrucian cosmic conception was printed, The Theosophical Society of California bought the entire edition and sent it out to all their centers. So they considered that the Rosicrucian cosmic conception was a very ideal exposition for reading, for Americans to read, of the teachings of the secret doctrine. So they had no argument with it as far as the ideas went. I remember I first saw a copy of the Rosicrucian Cosmic Conception when it was being carried by a friend of mine, a very profound metaphysician. And I said, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" She showed it to me and told me about it. She said, "I always give this to people who want to understand Indian religion and philosophy, because this has no Sanskrit terms." This was one of the things that Max Heindel determined right at the beginning when he was going to write it, was there'd be no technical Sanskrit terms. It would all be just English so that everybody could understand it, and they wouldn't need to have a glossary, as is in, of course, most of my books. There is a glossary. So anyway, there's nothing wrong not liking the secret doctrine. I understand it. So anyway, I think it's a good idea anyway for a Rosicrucian cosmic conception to be read before a person who would start with the secret doctrine. But it's practical and sensible. That is the Rosicrucian cosmic conception. So you can use it and everything is fine. But don't discount Blavatsky and her profound wisdom. She was not human on a certain level. She was superhuman, in my opinion. And with me, my opinion counts. Okay, fine. Can you explain the difference between Supreme Father and Supreme Soul? Well, God is not male or female, so he can't be your father, can't be your mother. And yet, he has a dual aspect, that he is pure knowledge, pure consciousness, but he's also power. Power and manifestation. And one is considered male, the abstract, invisible, therefore seemingly non-functional aspect of the divine. And then there is the power aspect, which is the whole universe, because everything here is made of vibrating energy, Shakti. And that is the mother. The mother gives birth. And so this primal energy gives birth to all these forms and all these worlds. She also dissolves them when she's in the mood, because she puts them out and then she eats them. That's why you can see pictures of Kali. Her mouth is open out. Like, oh, she's good. It's the devouring power at the end of the creation cycle. And it's good to not be scared by it. But if you are, okay. So, father is just a kind of term to get us to think of things, because we're used to patriarchy and the father's the boss. But of course, there is no male or female in the absolute. There's no male or female in our essential being either. And so, and we, the Jivatman, are an integral part of the Paramatma, the Supreme Being. So we're spirits within the Absolute Spirit. We can't understand it. We don't need to. What we need to do is know our own true self, and then the puzzle will have been solved. Therefore, as the Gita says, be a yogi. Yes, how to dilute and eventually come out of the importance, I guess, dhammas of the world. Well, be a yogi. Be a yogi, do sadhana, real sadhana. Do it constantly because you have japa and meditation, and your mind will be clarified. I don't say overnight. And your subtle perceptions, which are already in you because you are God, it's all your own true being, you possess it right now, will be revealed. It's like washing a pane of glass that's got so much accumulation on it that you can't even see through it. Or that if you see through it, you can't really distinguish what the forms are. That's the only way to do it. How to get beyond rebirth. The only way you get beyond rebirth is to not need it anymore. You and I are born over and over again because we flunked the grade and we didn't learn, we didn't know it, and we got to take it over again. It's not God, not God's fault, it's not God's whim. We're here to learn, and until we learn, we don't get out of school. We flunk. So, this is the answer to the whole thing. What is my essential being? And that's the only way you get out of the bondage. This world's a prison. But you see, until you work out your sentence, you don't get out of jail. Jesus said, you'll go into the prison house and you won't come out till you pay the last farthing. Farthing was the tiniest piece of currency that they had at the time Jesus was speaking. Until the last one's paid, you don't get out. So until you wake up fully, you don't get out. Until you are fully illumined, you don't get out. There's nothing wrong with the world. There's nothing wrong with the people around us. It's us. That's it. And yoga sadhana is the only way. There is no other way. It's like saying, here's a sleeping person, but he said, I would like to get up and run a few laps, but can I not have to wake? Well, no. I mean, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, be a devotee, but why a fool? So yes, why be a fool in spiritual life? Awakening is it, and you awaken yourself. No one else does. There are people who can come in and they can inform you and you can realize, well, yes, I do need to awaken. They can maybe even inspire you, but you've got to do it. All the people who went and got in covered wagons and went on the westward movement in that time of America, they were the only people who got there. Nobody else did it for them. Nobody picked them up and carried them there. And so there was a slogan I remember, God is the answer. That's the truth. But see, thou art that. You're part of God. And your true self is the immediate answer that you and I both need. Definitely. Okay, is the earth shifting right now to the fifth dimension, as some YouTubers suggest? And do any of the scriptures touch upon this topic? No. It's a fantasy. That's all I got to say. The world goes through stages called yugas, and things develop. In the Kali Yuga, people, the general people, they only use a fourth of their mind. In the Dwapara Yuga, which is very long, and it occurs according to the rotation of the universe around the absolute center called the Vishnu Navi, which means Vishnu's navel. And you get closer and farther, and the closer you are, the more evolved the consciousness becomes. And the less evolved, the less the consciousness is. And don't think you can just say, oh, well, if I never died, I could just wait. No, no, no. You're only born in those higher ages when your consciousness is already evolved enough to live there. So there's no such thing as a free ride. You got to walk there every step of the way. So anyway, there's always, oh, the New Age has come. Oh, ever since Guru Maharaj was born, the Satya Yuga is now here. You see, I bet you couldn't count the number of frauds in India right now who say because they're teaching their gabble or because their great guru is here or was here, the Satya Yuga is here. It's a lie, because when you're evolved enough to be born in the Satya Yuga, nobody has to tell you it's a Satya Yuga. I can tell you that. Absolutely so. So, and also they like to act like, oh, it's all the movements of the planets, and oh yes, the stellium is there. There was all this big nonsense about the stellium in Aquarius back in 1962. Did things change? Actually, they did change in some ways, but not in a way that an outside observer would see much. I knew a great astrologer, a great one. And he said, this is all mythology that they're saying. Of course, also, California is going to fall in the ocean. There's going to be earthquakes. By the way, they believed that in India. In fact, they thought the world was going to come to an end. Let me tell you an interesting story that really happened. The movie Elephant Walk was being shot in India at that time. And so, of course, they had not only a lot of extras, but they had people who actually were doing work on the movie, perhaps it's fetch and carry stuff, but, manual work. So anyway, the day before the stellium occurred, a delegation from all of the Indian workers came, and they said to the man who was running it all, Sahib, none of us will be coming to work tomorrow because tomorrow the world is going to end. But we'll be back the next day. Okay? And that's about the level of all this. Oh, yes, Venus has gone into this and that, and this is going to make a big difference. The only difference that counts is the difference you make in yourself, I assure you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. We used to sing a song in Protestantism, something happened when he saved me. Thank God I realized that nothing happened, and that was all up to me, and I became a yogi, and therefore a superior person. All right, fine. What are your thoughts on Hermetical mysticism? None. Okay. What is the difference between states of hypnosis versus meditation? Well, utterly. Hypnosis is passive, and meditation is active. Not active in the sense that you got to go and strain. But one, you're alert, you're directing the consciousness, you're directing your mind. You are producing a change through the methods of sadhana. Hypnosis is somebody else telling you and suggesting to you. What real meditation does is that it wipes out all the programming that the world and the people in the world have put into you in all your lives. And all the self-concepts that maybe even you foolishly took up. Because there's self-hypnosis. It takes that all away. And it's not conditioned according to whether you'll like it or not. If you do the process, it'll happen. There's no use to get on the plane for Chicago if you hate Chicago and you never want to see it. But the important thing is meditation, you are in charge. It puts you in charge. And in hypnosis, you just relax, listen to the sound of my voice. When I count to 4, you will this, you will that. Well, to hell with you, disembodied voice. I'm in here and I'm in charge. That's how the awakened person will feel. So hypnosis is from outside in, and meditation is from inside out. They're totally opposite. There's no recognition. There's no reconciliation. But you see, the West has all this junk room type of philosophy. Just dump it in here, dump it in your mind, and so on. You see, I was just thinking, actually, just this morning, how you see there's Eastern Christianity and there's Western Christianity. Now, Eastern Christianity, some of them believe a lot of silly things like everlasting hell, but there are some very high reaches in it where they believe, no, everyone's going to work to God. But anyway, the thing that's interesting about Western Christianity, the Catholic Church, Protestants don't come into this. Anyway, but let's say Western Christianity. Eastern Christianity means the Orthodox Church, Eastern Orthodox. Different branches, but still it's Eastern. Okay. Holy water, okay? A priest takes water, says prayers over it, makes sacred gestures, and it becomes empowered, energized, and it has a definite effect on whoever drink it, who touch it. And here's the interesting thing. The Western Christians, they only sprinkle it on the outside. They put it on themselves. They have a font at the end of church. At the door of the church, they put their hands in it. They go like this, don't they? Yes, and they just touch themselves with it. Or a house is blessed. They sprinkle around. An object is blessed, even a statue. They sprinkle it. Everything it only goes on the outside. The Orthodox Church, they sprinkle water around, but mostly they drink it. That's what it's for, is to drink. A real on-the-beam Orthodox Christian drinks holy water the first thing every day of their life. Because they get it, they bring it home, a container, and they drink it every day. So the East puts it inside, and the West puts it outside. No better objective lesson about the difference between, again, the right brainer and the left brainer. Okay. All right. Very last one. When some of the texts mention Soham, also mention how the sound Sa comes with inhale and Ha with exhale. Why do we use Soham as opposed to Saha? Because I don't know how it's been translated. What their meaning is, when you do the spontaneous japa, the initial sounds are S and H. So it's so. The first thing you see, the secret of Soham Sadhana is the generation, literally the generation of the subtle sound in your own subtle bodies, including your mind. It is actually the very saying of it. It's not just a sound. Sound has an effect, absolutely. But it's not only the effect of sound. Non-Soham yogis think that, well, Om Namo Narayana, it has a holy vibration. It can link me with Vishnu. I say Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana. And that's an effect. No. The sound of So and the sound of Hum, mentally in tone, absolutely do the job. But you have to consciously and intelligently, again, difference between hypnosis or sleep and meditation, you generate that sound. And the process of generating so and hum is the complete thing of the japa of the mantra. And one isn't more important, one is more powerful than the other, because without one part, they're no good. They don't mean anything. So, this is the thing. So, when we're remembering, and it becomes very tenuous, and there are some people who, if they want to get away from it, will try to say, well, when I'm doing my Soham, it's like I'm going, well, tough. You're deluding yourself. It's so, and it's how, but it is so subtle. Yes, it becomes like the slightest whisper. Slightest thing. So slight, it's virtually silent. But you have to articulate it, and it's so and hum. And that's the way it works. So, but the s and the h aren't enough. You've got to get the O and the M. You see? You've got to get the O, S and O, and then besides the H, you've got to get the and the M. That's just the way it works. Could I talk to you about the rationale of it? No, that's the thing. What's the rationale of if I plug my nose, I'm not going to be able to breathe? Well, it's just the way it works. So that's the way it works with Soham. If anybody wants to do Sa and Ha, do it. What's it got to do with me? When the sum of my life comes at the time of death, there'll be nobody there to say that I failed to persuade people to do it correctly. I've written a whole book, Soham Yoga, Yoga of the Self. There it is. And if you don't want to believe it, that's fine. Why? You've got mental integrity. If you want to think I'm barking nuts, go ahead and think I'm barking nuts. You think God's going to be mad? How dare you say that Swami Nirmalananda is barking nuts? Swami Nirmalananda won't object that you say he's barking nuts. Be free. It's better to be free and ignorant than to be enslaved and supposedly attain wisdom, because slaves don't really attain wisdom, but what can we do? We work with what we have. Therefore, so now it's complete. So I've only gone 20 minutes over an hour. So thank you. It's been very enjoyable because I love the sound of my voice and I love to play teacher and authority. So if you've been able to get through it, and I hope it's been beneficial. But know this, sadhana alone gives the real benefit. So thank you so much for your patience. I'm scattered, 84 years old, I'm not going to be any different. Therefore, I get to, like all old people, I'm 60-some years old, I get to be cantankerous. So let me do that too. So namaste, namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly do appreciate it to know someone's out there listening. And it's better to be listening and not believing what I have to say than to not be listening and therefore have no reaction. So thank you. Until next month.